Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama just sat down with CBS's 60 Minutes. He was asked about those false claims of fraud in the presidential election.
They appear to be motivated in part because the president doesn't like to lose and never admits loss. I'm more troubled by the fact that other Republican officials who clearly know better are going along with this, are humoring him in this fashion. It is one more step in delegitimizing not just the incoming Biden administration, but democracy generally. And that's a dangerous path.
I want to bring in Jim Messina. Jim managed President Obama's 2012 campaign. He's also a former White House deputy chief of staff. He's now senior advisor with American Bridge 21st Century and CEO of the Messina Group. And Jim, Republicans acquiescing to President Trump, it did make some sense on a purely political level over the past 4 years. But to President Obama's point, what's their motivation now? Everyone knows the president has lost. There was no widespread fraud. Why haven't Republicans en masse decided to try and use this moment to reset their party, maybe reset our politics, restore some semblance of normalcy in this country?
Well, first, because all they want to do, Craig, is play politics, right? They're absolutely afraid of President Trump and the base. And, this huge turnout we just had, they won a bunch of races that they didn't think they were going to win because of massive Republican turnout. And so they look at this and say, oh, we can't do anything to make these Trumpers mad. And so, they don't care if they trash democracy. They don't care if there's short-term problems in transition. They're playing politics. The second thing is well, not all of them, but most of them want to run for president in 2024. And the road is going to lead right through Donald Trump. And so they're, instead of putting the country first, instead of after the longest and most expensive political campaign in world history, what the country right now wants on both sides is just everyone to work together to fix this coronavirus, to repair our economy. And instead, these guys are playing politics. And it's not only bad for the country, it's super bad for democracy, because Joe Biden's going to walk into the presidency, and what's the one thing he promised? He's going to bring everyone together and get all of this done together. And if you have 70 million Americans being told that their votes didn't count, that is a big hurdle for an incumbent president to start to deal with.
Jim, your two theories, actually, they make a lot of sense to me. But does that then mean that Republicans are going to continue to spend the next 4 years appeasing the president who lost?
Well, it's a great question, Craig. Are they going to have the political space to cut deals with Joe Biden? As you know, when I was White House Deputy Chief of Staff in the first term, the very first thing I did was call my friends in the Senate. I'd worked there for 20 years in Mitch McConnell's office and said, hey, let's start cutting deals. Let's do this. And they said Mitch McConnell's decided he's going to be the opposition, and everything Barack Obama wants, he's going to try to stop. And so right now, McConnell's saying the right things. But the question is, if every single time he cuts a deal with Joe Biden and Donald Trump goes out there and tells his supporters and the entire Republican Party it was a bad deal, does that allow Mitch McConnell to cut the kind of deals we're going to need as a country?
The Washington Post just reporting a short time ago that more than 130 Secret Service officers are said to be infected with coronavirus or quarantining in the wake of traveling with the president. You've been a part of that campaign, traveling with Secret Service. Your reaction, Jim?
I am white hot angry about this. I was White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations. Every single day. There are no finer Americans or anyone in the world in the Secret Service. They put their life, they put everything in front of, real mortal danger to protect our democracy and to protect our presidential transition. And they are being exposed to the coronavirus because of the absolute reckless actions of a president and a White House who's putting the best and the brightest at risk. I could not be more angry about this, and I think it's outrageous. And I think there ought to be some karmic or moral price that these people pay for what they have done.
before I let you get out of here and enjoy your weekend. You worked in the White House with Joe Biden. I doubt I'm the first person to ask you over the last week or so, but any interest in doing it again?
Look, I think he's the right man for the right moment. Like, he's the guy who can bring people together, who can reach out to both sides. You know, during tough negotiations, Craig, during Obamacare, during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, we would go to the vice president. We would go to him and say, how do we get this senator? How do we move McConnell a little bit this way? You know, what do the Republicans want? He would be the guy we'd send to Capitol Hill to fix it. And so I am incredibly optimistic that he's the right person for this moment. I also think he's doing exactly the right thing on transition. He just named a chief of staff who is as talented of a political and legislative operator as there is in the country in Ron Klain. And it's just another sense that this guy is going to put world-class people around him, as opposed to the band of idiots that Trump has surrounded himself with.
Jim, to be fair, that wasn't my question. My question, Jim Messina, was if he called you, would you take the job?
Oh, no. I've done my public service. No. Thank you for the question, but
not just a no, and oh, no. Got it.
No. Happy.
All right, Jim Messina, always good to have you, Jim. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the weekend, buddy.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.